A
Okay.
thumbs up if you can hear me. Fantastic. Would help if I put my microphone on, wouldn't it, really? But anyway, I know quite a lot of people are going to watch the recording of this. So I am going to jump right in because I want to keep it to 30 minutes or less because I appreciate it's lunchtime. And I really just want to give you the flavour and some insight into some ideas for creating content, because so many people say to me they've no idea what to write about. We all want to promote our business and market our business, but you can't just keep saying the same thing as you use in corporate marketing. And LinkedIn is very much about the human touch. It's very much about boosting individuals' posts rather than corporate companies. LinkedIn traditional model is for, as a corporate company, on company page posts, they want you to pay per click, just like Facebook, and it's very expensive. So they really target the big guys, the big corporates, and they want them to pay to boost corporate ads. In order for them to get the money, they need people like us, millions of people using LinkedIn on the personal pages, because that's how they can say to people, listen, we've got millions of users in your sector, pay to promote on corporate ads. Most of us can't afford to do that, and I have tried. It's really expensive and it doesn't work that well specifically. So most of us are trying to promote our company through personal posts. And if you're not, that's the best way to do it. Not to share a company post, but to actually create a company post with a story, which is what we're going to talk about today. So why not sharing company posts? Just to go into that, first of all, I come from a corporate background. I spent 15 years in software sales management. I won't bore you going into that, but the traditional post back then, 15 years ago, was a link to a website or a link to a webinar, and basically telling people about what the content of the webinar was or the content of the product. That was it. That was a post on LinkedIn. And most of these companies are still doing that same type of style to this day. And I'm not saying they're not getting any results. And if they're paying to get seen over and over again, yes, potentially they're going to get brand awareness, but they're not really going to get, they're not connecting with that human touch. They're not really igniting any interest. They're not getting people to know, like, and trust, and they're not sharing any aspect of the company that people are interested in. And I know a lot of people, especially people that work in corporate backgrounds, thinking, I don't want to share anything personal about me. And everybody's got a different opinion. I personally don't want to share anything too personal about me either. I want people to know, like, and trust me. I want them to know me a little bit, but I'm certainly not going to talk about every night what I had for dinner. I mean, for me, I don't think you have to, there's oversharing, but again, depending on what you do, if your job's a coach and you're all about problem solving, you might want to delve a bit deeper. But if you're selling, HR packages, your professional services, you want to come across as a professional. So we're going to touch on ideas and concepts that you can still be professional, but maybe touch on some personalization as well. And this could either apply to you as a person, but also if you're posting on behalf of your company. So, because again, your company has got values, it's got, inspiration, it's got ideas, it's got an ethos, it's got energy. So again, it's trying to get that out in posts. So I'm probably going to mute you all if I haven't already. Oops, sorry. People are waiting. Hello, if you just joined, I am just about to start. You've missed my introduction, but you'll get the recording. If you've not muted yourself, if you would mute yourself just now. My name is Maureen Kane and I run the LinkedIn Breakfast Club, and I have been using LinkedIn for 16 years now. I started using it when I worked for a company in marketing and sales to get leads for myself in the business. And about 7 years ago, I started using it to generate leads for myself, and I became self-employed. And I also sell marketing packages to help clients. So I have learned the hard way what not to do and what doesn't work. And I now help a lot of individuals tweak their posts, get the right connections to make sure they're generating leads and business from LinkedIn. Because for me, it's great to get 10,000 likes, but what I want is 10,000 sales. It's all about the sales and the lead generation. And a lot of people say you can't get sales from LinkedIn. I would disagree, but depending on what you're doing, what you can, any industry can certainly do is use LinkedIn for lead generation and to spark conversations. If you productize your service, which is a different video, you will be able to sell on LinkedIn. But today we're talking about ideas for content. So thank you so much for joining. As I said, I'm going to share my screen with you now, and I'm going to run through some of the areas which help me to get content. And, you know, I am a creative person, so I generally do not struggle with content. So I'm just going to go to Canva, which I use all the time, even for presentations. Can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen? Good, fantastic. So I'm just going to go into each of the 10 sections and just give you some scenarios. Raised hand. Okay. So Canva, if anybody's not using Canva, certainly that's something that I use all the time. It's fantastic for creating content and lovely presentations which you can edit in seconds. So again, as we said, I'll just repeat briefly for the people who have just joined. It's all about creating content that sparks conversations, that gets people interested, and also which promotes your business. The key thing before you even start posting on LinkedIn, from my aspect, what I've seen that works, is really get clear on your message and what products and services you want to sell on LinkedIn. If you sell 25 services, it's quite difficult to talk about them. And I've got quite a few services packages myself, but I typically try and lead with a couple, or certainly per quarter, I'll pick 2 or 3. And what those products are, or services, typically are good lead generation products. So maybe ones with a lower price point that you can open the door. And once, like any sales, once you start talking to people, obviously you can sell them more, or you could direct them to your website. But the content that you post on LinkedIn really should be about sparking conversations, getting them to comment, getting them to like, getting them to inbox you about starting a conversation. So before I show you the content, there's 2 ways to generate leads on LinkedIn. One is by putting out content and getting people to you. The other thing that you must do is connect to new people every week. This is so important. If you're not connected to new people every week, you're constantly showing the same content to the same people. So 100 people every week invites, you can do in 10 minutes a day, or there's lots of other ways you can do it. But putting out content to get people interested and to show and to get that credibility, know, like, and trust, and people in the Breakfast Club will know that that helps you get that engine going, so you look popular and you've got that credibility. But you still need to create great content, even with the power of the Breakfast Club, which raises your profile awareness. If your content is boring, dull, and unengaging, you're still going to struggle. So it's a combination of connections, the engagement from the LinkedIn Breakfast Club, but good quality content. And it does take time. So it's about selling with not overselling. So the first place is your journey. You know, everybody's got a background, whether it's from school, college, childhood. There's always something that relates, and whether that's from your company, when your company started, how they got the message, how they got the branding, how they got the logo. There's so many areas that you can talk about of your or your company journey that you can tie in on a post that relates to what you do. So for example, you could be talking about how you started your company up, how you got the name, and where that brings you to today. And you could also throw in that post the product you're now promoting, which relates back to where you started, because normally in companies you go 360. So again, that's one post that could talk about how you got your company name, how you got your company logo, or how the company you work for, and relate it into what you're offering right now. And you know, there's a lot of conversation about don't put links in, do put links in. I think the occasional link is fine, but certainly telling that story with a visual, so a GIF or a document post that's visual, will really help your story stand out. And if you're talking about your journey that's got you to where you are, or the company's journey, again, that's something people are interested in. So it's about engaging, and you could technically do a series of that. Every Monday you could think, right, on a Monday, I'm going to do a post about a story about the company's background, or a story about my background that's helped me get today, and links into the product that I'm serving. Because we've all got plenty of stories, and I do this regularly, talk about things from my childhood, and it's also giving a little bit about you, but not too personal. Same for the company. That's number one. Number two, stories for the day. You know, depending what you do, if you work in construction, if you're on a building site, You know, there's nothing better than taking a picture of where you're at that moment in time and talking about that. It's current, it's relevant, people can relate to it, which again, you want to build your tribe on LinkedIn. People buy from people they relate to, know, like, and trust. If you're sitting at your desk writing proposals, talking about writing proposals, everybody's got that same thing. Talk about the activities of the day. That could be from your company, your sales team, your clients, and interaction. Also where you are right now, sitting in Starbucks. I mean, I was sitting in Starbucks half an hour ago, and I could have came up with about 4 ideas just looking around me, people observing. And again, just bringing that back, let somebody in, bringing that back to what you're doing right now. Because again, if you're talking about writing a proposal for a client, hey, you're talking about winning a deal for which product? You're subtly getting that in, and you know, you don't need to say it every time. And if you want to work with me, contact you now. But certainly you can say you're winning this great proposal for a finance company or a accountancy or hashtag construction, whatever sector you're targeting. And then, you know, people want to work with successful people. So that's just one example. Stories from your day. And again, that could be a Tuesday. Every Tuesday, I'm going to write about a story from my day. Or get a little notebook. I've got notebooks everywhere I go. And write down any inspiration you get anywhere. I'm actually getting LinkedIn Breakfast Club books for that. It's quite exciting. So anything you're doing throughout the day, again, if you look at your calendar, what you've got on, and it might be even that you're jam-packed with client meetings because everybody wants to talk about you, about this new service you're offering. Fantastic. You might not even need to mention it. Put a picture, put a video, put something about it. But again, it's not just you saying, here's my product. Do you want to talk to me about it? Of course, that's what we all want to say, but people want to know a little bit more, a little bit delving into it. So client stories, again, something a lot of people talk about anyway. The usual client testimonial, they're great, certainly, but maybe just taking a word from that testimonial, a comment that they put on social media, a line they've written to you in an email, put that as the heading of the post. Great way to start. Again, then you can talk about the journey and again, link it to the product and service. Headlines are so important on LinkedIn. And again, I'm not a copywriter. So again, I'm sure there's copywriters amongst LinkedIn that you know about, but headlines are so important. There's so many good articles regarding headlines. Certainly it's worthwhile investing time on, but getting a quote that a client has said, or even doing a screenshot of a comment that somebody's put on LinkedIn. I mean, today I seen in one of my posts, somebody had put, oh, what a fantastic video you did, blah, blah, blah. That will be in a post next week. So again, it's not just your traditional client testimonials. And I know for if you're a corporate client, but you can still use a headline of somebody's giving you feedback. This is what they've said. Use a couple of the keywords in that headline, and then the post could still be quite corporate and say what you're doing, but the headline is what gets people to stop. And again, just using different images. Canva.com is great for creating images and GIFs, which I'll do another video on. And it just makes you stand out in a feed, because so many people that buy aren't actually engaging, they're watching. So you want them to see your post, you want them to learn a little bit more about you and a little bit more about your customers. And again, success breeds success. If you're talking about a client story, and again, if you think about any testimonial you've had, how many words could be in that are great lines? You probably, out of one client testimonial, you could probably create at least 5 to 10 posts, I kid you not. And of course, we all want more than one testimonial. So, you know, don't just think about posting the whole corporate testimonial. Post a couple of words, then it could be the corporate video, whatever the content is, but just change that text up. That's a really great way to share success, and people want to buy from clients in their sector. And on the client stories or any posts, hashtags are key. Use the hashtags of the sectors that you are targeting. If you are an accountant, don't do hashtag accountants, because the only people looking at hashtags accountants are accountants. Use hashtag construction, hashtag small business, hashtag engineering. Try different things. Just get a drink of water. Now this list isn't endless, by the way. This is my list. I could probably have come up with 25 ideas of how to write content. Books. I'm not an avid reader. I'm not going to claim to, but I have read many books in my days. And again, depending on what you're interested in, you know, there's so many lines from famous books. You could even Google. There's plenty of websites set up lines from books. But any quotes relevant to what you're doing, because depending on the benefits that your business brings, there's lots of potential lines you can use. So this is one from Fellowship of the Ring. All we have to decide is what we do with the time that is given us. Now, I'm going to use that in a post talking about how much time we commit to LinkedIn. And again, at the end, I'm going to sell my services. But there's so many different books. It could be an inspirational book, could be a storybook. But using a storybook, again, if you're into things like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, whatever kind of books you're in, fiction, Stephen King, within them, there's so many great quotes for corporates or for individuals. And don't think, I can't use it, I'm not corporate. Again, your message can be corporate, but the headline, you know, can be really catchy. And I've seen a couple of people doing posts about the Force. Because, I mean, if you think about relating to people, how many people like Star Wars? So using something that you know has got a huge following, like Game of Thrones, or whatever that current thing is, trying to be current and relevant. You're going to try and attract the people who like the same things as you, but also they're going to get it. And then, you know, whatever it is, if you're talking, if you're saving people time with your product and you get a quote about time, and I wouldn't go for the inspirational ones. If you actually go from a line from a book, it's a lot more meaningful. It's a little bit different, again, and tie in to what your product is, what your service is. Again, you could do that every Thursday. So that could be, if you've got a content drought, Monday could be client testimonials, Tuesday could be about what's happening in the day, Wednesday could be about the sales team, what they're up to, again, success. Thursday or Wednesday, I forgot what day it was, could be about books or TVs or movies. Now, I don't know about you, but I've watched way too much Netflix in lockdown, and I love old movies. So again, I once every couple of weeks, if I'm ever short of something to say, I will think about what movie do I like, or what actress do I like, or what actor I like. And again, stick to the genre that you like, that you're passionate about, or what relates to your company. And I mean, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I love that line. And again, I'm going to use that in a post about somebody that basically didn't think their clients were on LinkedIn. And, you know, obviously most people are on LinkedIn, but so many people say their clients aren't on LinkedIn. But if you pick a line from a movie or a quote from a famous actor or actress that you love, again, you can tie it in, relate it to something to do with what you're doing. And again, there's so many websites on Google, famous quotes from movies. I'm not kidding you. But pick something you like, or that's in line with your company. If you're a software company, I mean, there's so many programs about AI, aliens, technology. So try and link it in. And again, characters, you could do characters, whether you're picking about characters in the movie. It doesn't need to be the actor. I mean, think about Star Wars. There's so much to talk about. It's saying my internet is unstable. So hopefully you are still with me. Can we see a hands up if you're still with me? A thumbs up? Can you hear me? Joys of internet. So, and anybody that signed up for this, I will send them this presentation as well. So again, music. So not football. Coming on to that next. So books, music, TV, things I love. But most people, if you think about it, love them. So again, a quote from a song, Dolly Parton, Working 9 to 5, pour myself a cup of ambition. That's a lyric in the song 9 to 5. Now again, I'm gonna tie that in a post talking about my background, and also bring it up to what I'm doing right now and the new products I'm going to be releasing in September. So bring a little bit of yourself into it. Don't be scared to show a little bit. And even from the company or the clients that you work for, there's always things that you can relate to what you're doing. And, you know, again, that can be the heading. The actual post itself can be still quite corporate. But I do love a bit of Dolly Parton. Sports. I'm not going to say I'm an avid sports person, but I thought I'd throw this one in because obviously sports is huge. Football, rugby, whatever your sports is. Again, if you're in charge of writing content for your company, you need to put a little bit of you in. If you're the person that's marketing for your company, a little bit of you, or a little bit about what the MD is. It could be team sports. Anything like that is going to help attract the right kind of people. And also there's so many things to talk about, famous players, the results, the competition. But again, you're talking about something you know, but you're attracting the people that like the same thing as you, which makes it easier to have a conversation and easy to sell. So, I mean, the key thing is about all these things is getting you noticed to spark conversations. It's not necessarily about people straight away hitting with you, buy my stuff, because sales in any realm doesn't typically work like that, although it can. But you know, you want someone to think after seeing your post for a few times, thinking, I like this guy or gal, I want to see more. And then when they see your post, it brings a smile to their face. That's where a little bit of humor comes in. And TV could be famous comedians. So again, whatever you like. So you want people to bring a smile to their face, and then at some point, and generally often it's the people that haven't commented, you want them to reach out to you and say, hey, I'd love to have a chat. That's how sales happen. LinkedIn. I get so much inspiration from people writing comments and posts on LinkedIn. Comments are great because people write things I've never even thought about. I thought, oh my God, never thought about that. Write it down in your list. And again, a lot of people are talking about things what's relevant and current on LinkedIn. So it's a great place to look for ideas. And again, tying in to your journey, to your experience, to your marketing of your product. I think it's so important. And, you know, obviously connections, talking about connections. So people you've had a conversation with, and again, you can say what you've had a conversation about, linking into what they do, but also what you do. It's good not to just to talk all about you all the time. But that's another one that, I mean, probably for me, I get a lot of inspiration about. I mean, oops, spelling mistake, but YouTube, social media, news, anything that's current and relevant. Again, you don't want to be talking about yesterday's news. You want to be talking about something that's up to date. And I know there's anybody that works in employment or anything, there's so many, or finance, there's so many changes. It's great to talk about that. But all I would say is rather than make that I wouldn't say a boring update, because obviously very relevant, maybe just think about changing the headline so the headline's a bit more interesting to get more people to click it. And, you know, if you're talking about something that's relevant, more people are likely to spark a conversation. And the last thing is to talk about anything that you're passionate, excited about. I mean, I've talked about a few things, books, music, TV, but, you know, the list is endless. It could be bird watching, it could be anything. And I think there could be something that your company is very passionate about. It could be charity, it could be very specific. Talk about that often. And if you have got any, charity is a great one. If there's any specific charities that your company's aligned with, it's a great thing to talk about, because, you know, again, people, it's that feel good factor, and that in itself will attract people to you. But also, you know, people will want to follow you and learn more. Talk about the journey with you and the charity. Talk about the journey with you in any sports, walking, whatever it is you do at the weekend, rowing, things like that you do, but tie it in to, you know, your business. I think it's great to do other posts, but I see a lot of people posting about anything but what they do. And generally I find these people are starting a few conversations, but it's hard to get sales because, you know, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. It's great they know you, but do they know what you do? Because that's the winning thing. So it's great to post about, fluffy things and hobbies, but you still need to post at least twice a week about what your company or what you do, because otherwise you might get lots of followers and then you have to start messaging them and starting that sales conversation in the back end by sending them little slide messages. I find it's best to be up front and to talk about what you do, but do it in a subtle way that's not, here's my products, they're so great, do you want to buy them? By telling them a little story about Dolly Parton, and by the way, 9 to 5 I'm working on these videos that you can buy. You know, people it's still a sales post, but it's a little bit more of me, and it's a little bit more quirky, and it's different to what everybody else is doing. That's what's going to make you stand out, and that's what's going to help spark conversations. So I have nearly spoke for half an hour. I'm going to open it up to questions. So has anybody got any questions? Don't know if that's been valuable. I'd love any feedback.
That's been great.
Any questions? Zach, hello, nice to see you.
Hello. Yeah, no, really helpful. Thank you.
And I think for you, I think for you as well, because you work for a corporate client, I still think you could put a little, especially even changing the headlines and putting a little bit of interest. It makes it a bit more exciting, because you are talking about stuff that's really important, but you just want more people to see it. Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. I need to start putting myself in the shoes of, if I didn't work in the industry, how would I get engaged?
Yeah.
The thing to do, because I think obviously I'm engaging with it because I'm doing it day to day, but what would get someone else? Yeah,
and we're having a one-to-one next week, so we'll talk about that, because I think it's maybe coming up with, for your company, 3 or 4 areas that are still corporate, but maybe you can talk about as well. And maybe you can agree that with the firm as well, so it's not just you flying off your own back.
Yeah, definitely.
Any other questions?
Yeah. For me, what I really liked about that, it was so simple, and everything you've said is very obvious now you've said it.
That's me, simple as.
It wasn't obvious half an hour ago, so thank you very much for your time and your input.
Yeah, no, and honestly, do try it because it really does work. And plus, it is showing a little bit of you, whatever your interests are. It's still not giving away what you had for breakfast, but, you know, you're giving a little bit away. That's, you know, because, you know, a lot of people don't want to know everything about you. They just want to know a little bit to do business with.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or anything?
Maureen.
Hello?
Maureen, hi. Hi, I was just thinking that the penny finally dropped with me a few weeks ago, in the realisation that I'm actually only looking for maximum half a dozen clients, and therefore I don't need to please everyone. I won't appeal to everyone. You just can't make everybody happy.
Yeah.
So just focus on the people that you want to convert and you want to follow you. Yeah. So that took me a while because I wasn't getting the amount of views or the amount of likes that I wanted. But since I changed that attitude, things have really taken off.
And niching down really does make a big difference. Niching down in a sector or two, niching down in a couple of products, that really makes a huge difference. If you're trying to sell like everything to the mothership, it's impossible. But if you try and sell one or two products to a couple of sectors, I mean, for me, this year has turned my sales around doing that completely. But thanks for the feedback. James?
Maureen, the issue that I always find is it's not finding the content, it's the time to do it and follow it up. And, you know, it's, we all talk about digital media, it's a great thing, but it's a job in its own right.
But it is a job, lead generation. I mean, I always say, I mean, honestly, the amount of people, I used to run a telesales team, and LinkedIn is the new telesales. Really, but if you're a business, you need to do lead gen. And for me, LinkedIn is that lead gen. That's more than 70 calls a day for me. Putting one post out 5 days a week and spending an hour and maybe an hour creating the content, an hour every day, that's me done telesales with 5 people. So it is a job, but if you do it, you will have in 3 months, you'll have a good pipeline. And that might not be huge, depends what your target is. But I always say to people, you need to do it, or you need to pay someone to do it for you, because if you don't, your competitors will be doing it. And LinkedIn is the place to be. You've got to make that time for it. I really do feel strongly. Either hire a VA or anybody, but it's so important. And LinkedIn is going to get more and more busy in the next couple of years. Now there's still plenty of time to get in there and be seen as a trusted supplier. Because if you don't, you know, you're going to struggle to get your foot up the door, I think, in a couple of years. But it does take time, absolutely.
Yeah.
But do you do your own sales, James?
Yeah, I mean, my book is full for 3 years, and I'm busting at the seams. But I need to be doing this just for general awareness and continuity, and be able to up the rate and increase.
Maybe why don't you just? I mean, I don't know if you're in the breakfast, but why don't you just then move down to doing 2 days a week? Are you something like that rather than doing 5? Again, I do 5 because I want to have a full pipeline.
You're breaking up, Maureen. I missed half of that. You're breaking up. I missed.
Why don't you move to doing? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
My internet's a bit sketchy. Why don't you move to doing something like 2 days a week rather than 5, and then it's not so much of a commitment?
2 days a week. 2 days a week of what?
Posting on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I post much less frequently than that.
Right.
Because I'm working all the hours that are already, and it's something that doesn't shout, so you leave it behind.
But it won't shout if you don't.
It shouldn't.
If you post 5 days a week and you get 25 leads every week, it's going to shout to you. So for me, LinkedIn's there waving at me every morning saying, hello, I can see the pound signs going. So I guess like anything, when you get results, you make it a priority. So I mean, for you, it's more if you want to be seen as a thought leader or something like that, or somewhere in key in your industry, not just sales, I think you need to post at least once a week, because then people are going to see you and you're going to keep that presence up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if I took on two or three more clients in the next year, the wheels would come off. I do international business consultancy, so they tend to be long-term, quite high-value contracts. So it's more about just general brand building, as I say, to increase the rate rather than to increase necessarily the numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. Any more questions?
Maureen,
Yeah,
I've lost the screen. I don't know if that's just me or if it's everybody, but I've just got Zoom in front of me now. And
All right. Okay. Sorry.
Yes, I've got a question. My question is...
Can you see me first of all?
Can't see any.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I can listen.
Okay. Sorry. Carry on, Denise.
Yeah, my question is, how long does it tend to take from increased views to a sale?
Views to sales, the big question. I mean, to be honest, I'd really need to look at your content and see what you're doing. What I find is the most important time length is getting your message right and your products. That needs to be crystal clear. Once you've got that nailed down, and that needs to shout out from your profile, your banner, your headline, then you need to have content that aligns with that. I would expect to get leads in the first 6 weeks. Sales depends on what you do and what your sales cycle is. But I would be looking to get leads in the first 6 weeks to 2 months. But first of all, you need to make sure your message is crystal clear. If it's not, that's for any sales is going to be challenging.
Okay,
I mean, it might be worthwhile booking a one-to-one and I'll have a look. We can kind of run through it together.
Okay, yeah, that'll be helpful. Thank you.
Any final questions? I'm just conscious of time. Edward?
Yeah, I think, it's great. I really picked up quite a lot here. And obviously a lot I picked up from you offline as well. The gift post I put on today, really, really helped. It's all about building awareness for me as well, because I know, in my sector, depending on the client, they've signed up to 2 or 3 years contracts, retainer contracts, depending. So mine is just positioning more than anything else. And then at the right time, whatever comes. I know there are a lot of, individuals that may be thinking, a couple of posts to sell. Well, for me, I'm looking at the long-term thing.
Yeah. And I think being there, people are going to see you, they're going to get to know you and who you are. So when they do need your service, they're going to think about you. And I think that's the position. It's subtle selling, which to me, I much prefer rather than doing 20 cold calls. I'd rather put out content and people get to know me. So when they need a video or LinkedIn marketing, they think, let's speak to Maureen. And that is what works over a period of time. But again, it's being consistent with your message. So they really do understand clearly what you do. But I'm going to finish up there, guys. Thank you so much. If anybody wants to book a one-to-one with me, I'm going to send you the recording, so you'll have my email address. Please feel free to book. And what we can do is review your content, talk about what I think you can do to help in terms of generate leads. Because I think the first thing to do is get views, and then it's all about converting the views to leads or conversations. Because some sales cycles, I mean, for me, can last 2 days or it can be a year. So it really does depend on each industry. But I think, yeah, absolutely, get the views, then look at converting views to leads or conversations. But thank you so much for giving up your time. Hopefully it was valuable. I'll look forward to seeing your content on LinkedIn, and feel free to tag me in if it's relevant to this course. Have a great Friday, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.